and I'm not suggesting that you embellish or exaggerate, but it is important that I can see the story you're telling if you've thought enough to answer the
Yeah.
question with it. And so,
As a person is preparing for these oral boards, now that I've given a couple of the questions away, is just contemplate the job that a police officer does as a human, instead of which everyone who is entry level has never lived in the shoes of. Filter through what you see on social media or what you saw on cops. That filter it as in, like, possibly not everything I'm seeing is actually what happens in the life of a police officer. So a good way to prepare as you're contemplating is go ask your local jurisdiction for a ride along. That is probably one of the best ways that you can prepare for a career in law enforcement, is to talk to a police officer, sheriff, trooper, talk to a cop. Ask them, how did you get your job? What brought you there? You're going to get a story.
it's funny you mention that, because in the command interview, which, just if we just jump ahead a little bit, if you get through the oral board interview and you get ranked high enough on an eligibility list, you will go through that horribly intrusive background investigation, and that will end with the background investigator inviting you to the command staff interview, which hopefully he says, if you get this far in the process, it's yours to lose. If you get to the interview with the chief and the captains and the civilian administrator at our agency, it's really yours to lose. Now, you can eat your shoe and fail this interview or not shine and not get selected, but the vast majority of people who make it that far, they're going to get hired. And so we ask a lot of the same questions. There's 9 or 10 questions, and they are very similar to the questions that you will see earlier on in the process. The difference is now there's uniformed command staff members asking them, even though you've been told it's yours to lose, and it's I won't say it's a formality, because it's not, but there's still a high level of stress when people come in. And so the candidates will come in, and they will get an opportunity to present themselves and answer questions like, tell us about a time when. And sometimes the candidate just doesn't have an example, or they don't, or they can't think of it. Maybe they do, but they just can't think of it. And I guess I would say that is perfectly okay. The best answers to those questions are, I can't think of it's not. Here's what it's not. Now, that's never happened to me. The best answer to that question, when you just can't think of an answer, is, I can't think of an example right now, but here's what I would do if. You just hypothesize. Just answer the question. Use an opportunity to steer the question to an answer that you are prepared to give. Well, I can't think of a time when I have been in that sort of stressful situation, but here's a time when my dad, he had this happen to him, and I've always thought, if that ever happened to me, here's what I would do. Like, you can steer the question to answer it, because really all we're looking for is, what kind of communicator are you, right? It's okay to hypothesize, I guess is what I'm saying. And so find a way to answer the question. Find a way to tell a story and give a glimpse of who you are.
We do have one of the oral board questions that people do have that experience with, and it has to deal with kind of integrity challenges. And people are stressed, and they are hearing the words that we're asking, but sometimes you could hear the words but not process the words, and your mind will take it to a different direction, and you can almost watch it in the face of the people, like, I can't believe they're asking me this. And we'll try to be clear, no, we're not asking this, we're asking these, and usually that brings people back in. But sometimes they'll vapor lock, and I can't think of it, like, and we'll try to throw a lifeline, like, well, what if?
Yeah.
And it's best to have that front loaded, though. Mm-hmm. What if?
I think it's also okay to, if you find yourself committed to just gobbledygook, to be real and just say, I don't feel like I'm giving a great answer to this. I want to start over. Can you give me that question again? And then you repeat the question back to me, and let me regroup for a second. Right? You wouldn't want to do that every question, but if I feel like I go down a rabbit hole, or maybe partway through the answer I'm like, man, this answer is just a disaster, I think it's okay to say, boy, this answer is a disaster. However professionally you deliver that, would you mind giving that to me again? I would not be offended by that. In fact, I would admire that. I'd write that note, and I don't write a lot of notes.
That happens regularly. People will start talking. They don't know where this sentence is going to end, and they get to the end of it and realize, I actually I got something better for that. Or, yeah, let me hear it again. Compared to, we will repeat the questions. It's your time frame to use how you want to. There's a difference between the person who is assessing and regrouping, and there's other times you could tell when we're at the second or third time to repeat the question, you could see they're glazed over. They're not listening. They're still trying to think, but they think they can buy some time. It is okay to take a tactical pause. It is okay to take 10 seconds. Seems like a long time, but take 10 seconds, gather your thoughts, give an answer.
So at the end of a lot of interviews, you'll have an opportunity to say, is there anything you'd like to add that has been asked? I don't know what questions you guys ask, but commonly you will find the end of the interview questions being, is there anything you'd like to add, or do you have any questions for the panel? Give some advice on those two sorts of questions.
For us, those are two different questions. The last question we have is is your summary. Is there anything that we didn't touch on in the previous 12 questions that you think we should know? And frequently stuff will come up like, this is my side business type thing that I do. I'm like, that's really tangible to understanding who you are. And also people will not hear and summarize. So this is your chance, kind of like question 1 is summarizing that. I don't have anything else to say is a 0. These are you get points as you go on. Mm-hmm. So that's one. Have a good summary there. Now for us, and this maybe not for every agency, but for us, we ask if there's any questions you have for us. Mm-hmm. It is not a graded question. Mm-hmm. We really like it when people don't ask questions if they don't have questions, because it's a kind way of saying it's obvious that people are just asking questions to ask us questions, and that is wasting our time. Like stuff that you had to have seen on Google when you went to a website, or like it, you know what it is. But we like it when people ask deep questions, like they actually do want to listen to what we're saying about whatever the topic is that they do have a question about. And again, it is not a weighted question, but the response to that question often elicit response from us to help them out further in the process.
And that could be tricky because it's not a weighted question for us, but certainly on the internet somewhere it says, if you're asked if you have any questions, make sure you ask a question, because some places it might be a weighted portion. But come with a meaningful question. Don't try to come up with one on the spot if you feel compelled to ask a question.
Right.
Yeah. Come prepared to ask a question.
A good question, I think this would be a good question to ask anybody, is we've asked you why you're picking us. It'd be a good chance for you to ask why you should be picking, hey, I'm here applying for XYPD. Why should I work for XYPD? Why are you working for there?
Yeah. And why did you choose this
Why
place?
did you choose it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a valid question, and that I like to answer because I like to brag about our agency. So, and it's also, I don't badmouth other agencies. I encourage people to be applying at other agencies because we need good cops everywhere. And if we can get the good cops, awesome. But if my neighboring agency can get the good cop, awesome, because we all work closely. We're brothers and sisters in our region. So want to make sure that the right people get into the right spots.
And I think that comes down to the ride-along earlier. I thought of this earlier. So a ride-along gives you an opportunity to see if you will be a good fit there too. Like, would I like this place? How do I fit in with
Right.
these people? You're during a ride along, you're likely to be exposed to the just the basic the conversation, just the interactions between officers in the squad room, and a taste of the culture.